On January 6, 1979, at 6:35 a.m., Mr. Tan Kuen Chai and his wife Mei Ying, operators of a mini school bus business, left their one-bedroom flat located on the 5th floor. Their 4 children were left sleeping in their beds. Somehow, without any witnesses and without a trace, someone brutally murdered all 4 children. And despite the gross brutality of the attacks, the murders have remained unsolved to this very day. So join me while we take a look at one of Singapore's most horrific family killings, the Geylang Bahru family murders. I'm your host Michael, and this is Strange and Unexplained. In the winter of 1979, Tan Kuen Chai and his wife Mei Ying found themselves balancing work and family life in their local community. Despite the societal expectation of having no more than 2 children, the couple had 4. And in Singapore at the time, there were numerous advertisements advocating for families to limit their children to 2 in order to address the issue of overpopulation. The consequences of exceeding this said limit included a lower priority in schooling and the loss of additional income tax deductions for larger families. Now, following the birth of their 4th child, Mei Ying decided to have her tubes tied to ensure that their family was done growing. But now, with the parents working tirelessly 7 days a week, the children were responsible for getting up, getting dressed, making their own breakfast, and making their way to school all by themselves, long after their parents have already started their workday. But tragically, that normal daily routine would all go tragically wrong one early winter morning. On January 6, 1979, the couple left their residence at 6:35 a.m., and at 7:10 a.m., Lee attempted to call home to wake her children, but received no response even after 3 attempts. So at this point, she decided to call a neighbor to check in on the children. The neighbor walked over to the apartment and knocked on the door. No one answered, and there were no sounds of movement inside the apartment. While still concerned, Lee figured that maybe the children had gotten an early start and already left for school. With hopes that that had been the case, Tan and Lee went about their workday and returned home at around 10:30 a.m. But when the couple arrived at their apartment, nothing could have prepared them for what they were about to walk into. Lee was first on the scene, and in the apartment's bathroom, she found the room splattered with blood, covered, and the lifeless bodies of her 4 children were found piled on top of each other on the floor, each of them still in their pajamas. It was determined that each child had sustained a minimum of 20 stab wounds, with the youngest child taking the brunt of the stab wounds to the face, and the eldest nearly losing an arm. Authorities got to work, noting that there were no signs of forced entry or theft at the property. And in the elder boy's hands were several strands of long, dark hair, leading investigators to believe that he had attempted to fight off the attacker. Although no weapon was ever recovered, authorities believe a large knife or a cleaver of some kind was used. They also speculate the involvement of more than one suspect. Now, surprisingly, neighbors didn't report hearing any screams on the morning of the incident, leading police to believe that the children may have known the perpetrator and willingly allowed them inside. It also suggests that the killer was familiar with the Tan family's schedule and that the attack was premeditated. Investigators also found blood in the kitchen sink, indicating that the suspect had tried to clean their hands after the attacks. Now, following the murders, an eyewitness, a taxi driver, came forward with some crucial information. He told the police of an encounter he had with a suspicious passenger on January 6th at around 8 o'clock in the morning. The passenger, a man in his 20s, had blood covering the left side of his body, and he was attempting to conceal a knife in his pocket. The driver noticed it because he said when the man exited the vehicle, he could hear the knife clang against the side of the door. Now, following this claim, during a suspect lineup, the driver identified the strange passenger as the Tan family's neighbor and friend, known locally as Uncle. Now, despite Uncle's initial arrest and the positive ID by the taxi driver, He was subsequently released by authorities due to lack of sufficient evidence. Now, unfortunately for police and the Tan family, the case would hit a standstill for a couple of weeks, until a letter arrived in the mail. 2 weeks after the murders, during Chinese New Year in fact, the Tan family received a very disturbing postcard. The front of the card featured a picture of children playing in the snow, while the inside contained a single sinister message written in Chinese, basically translating to, "Now you can have no more offspring, ha ha ha." The card was signed the murderer and also insinuated that the killer had a close acquaintance with the Tans because they knew that Lee had her tubes tied previously. And what's even more unsettling is the writer of the note addressed the card to the parents using their nicknames, reserved only for family and friends in Chinese culture, Chai and Ying. Now, even though this letter was taken in for evidence, the case would slowly but unfortunately go cold. Now, following their tragic loss, the Tan parents made the decision to sell their minibuses and cease driving children to school each day, and basically found employment in a plastics factory. They were afraid that if this killer was targeting them, then they could be putting other children's lives at risk. So you can understand why they would get rid of this business. But there's also another reason they might have wanted to ditch the buses. We'll get to it. Several theories emerged regarding the identity of the children's killer. However, these theories have so far all been denied by the parents themselves. Now, one suggests that Lee was involved in an affair with Uncle. And when she rejected his advances and decided to stay with her husband, he sought revenge by taking their children. That's dark, but entirely possible. Another theory revolved around the purchase of a winning lottery ticket by the Tans, using specific numbers that were provided to them by their relative or by Uncle, as some people might call him. The individual who provided the winning numbers came to claim their prize, only to be told by Lee that they had forgotten to actually purchase the ticket. So this led to suspicions, especially when the Tans had already acquired a new minibus for work following the supposed lost ticket. Okay? Now, this winning ticket was estimated at around $45,000. So the theory is that Uncle gave the Tans these numbers in hopes that they would buy the lottery tickets, win, because obviously he was in the know of some sort, right? And then they were supposed to split the winnings. I guess he didn't want to be attached to buying the lottery ticket. I don't know. That was weird. Why don't you go buy them yourself? But this theory basically goes on to say that he would kill these children for $45,000. I just don't think, I mean, maybe, but I don't think that's quite, this is a crime of passion. Let's just put it that way. And besides, the Tans asserted that they had no extramarital affairs and claimed to have never, ever purchased a lottery ticket. But even with multiple theories out there on what could have happened, there were no concrete answers for the Tan family whatsoever. And sadly, the world had to keep spinning. But about 5 years later, the couple wanted to try for a family again. And a reversal surgery was performed on Lee, and it was successful. The Tans welcomed a baby boy into their lives, and then later, another little girl. But there you have it, folks. The case of the Geylang Bahru family murders that sent shockwaves through the Singapore streets. Hopefully one day we will all finally get the answers to what happened to the Tan children. But we hope you've enjoyed this episode. And if you have, please check out all of our other shows here on the TCG Network. Also, check out our YouTube channel. And of course, please like and subscribe for more content just like this weekly. And if you'd like to show your support, please check out our Patreon, patreon.com/truecrimeguys, where you can get access to these episodes and so much more early and ad-free. All right, guys, until next time, just keep being strange, all right? Just don't be strangers. See ya.